Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we have a very exciting video because we're going to be talking about the 26 books that I want to read in 2026, which is kind of a lot when you start thinking about it. You have to read at least 2 books from that list every single month if you want to complete that. All of these books on this list I'm extremely excited about, super high hopes for, and books that are continuing series and stuff that I've already started. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'll read a little bit of a blurb for each one so you kind of know like what they're about and what caught my attention initially. The first one on this list is My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I cannot wait to read this book. I have such high hopes for it. I think it's going to be amazing. Everybody who's read it so far has seemed to really love it. I have not seen any negative reviews at all about this book, and it tracks because Frederick Bachman has been quickly become one of my favorite authors when it comes to the literary fiction genre. I just have loved everything that I've read by him, and I'm excited to carry that on into 2026. So this book specifically, I really don't know what it's about. I bought it because I knew I was gonna love it. It says, most people don't even notice them. They're 3 tiny figures sitting at the end of a long pier in the corner of one of the most famous paintings in the world. Most people think it's just a depiction of a wide expanse of sea, but Louisa, soon to be 18 years old and an inspiring artist herself, knows otherwise. She's determined to find out the story behind these 3 enigmatic figures. More than 2 decades before, in a distant seaside town, a group of teenagers find refuge from their cruising home lives by spending long summer days on an abandoned pier, telling silly jokes, sharing secrets, and committing small acts of rebellion. These lost souls find each other, a reason to get up every morning, a reason to dream, a reason to love. Wow. I know I've read that before, and even just rereading that makes me just even more excited to pick this book up this year. I don't know, all these books, I'm such a mood reader that I feel like all these books I'm gonna want to pick up at any time throughout the year. I don't really do a lot of seasonal reading or anything like that. I just kind of read whatever I'm feeling at the time, and this is one that, say for a day that I need something that's gonna make me feel something really strongly, I'm in that mood frequently. So hopefully I can pick it up soon and dive into it. I'm just so excited, and I don't mind holding off a little bit because the anticipation for this book is super high, and that's a part of the reading experience for me, is just waiting and knowing that it's gonna be that good and not rushing into anything. So My Friends by Frederick Bachman, first book on our 26 to read in 2026. And I'm not talking about these in any particular order. I just made this list based off of what first came to my mind. So they're not ranked in any order or anything at all, just super random. The next book that I have on this list is The Final Wish of Mr. Murray McBride. I love the series. This series stole my heart this year. This is The Final Wish of Mr. Murray McBride. This is by Joe Sipel. Like I said, the series stole my heart this year. This is a trilogy. Basically, you're following this 100-year-old man who lost his wife recently. They'd been together for years and years, and he recently lost her to Alzheimer's and had to go through that experience. Basically lost his will to live anymore, and on his 100th birthday, he met a young boy who is going through a lot of health troubles as well, and they basically team up together to, I don't know, just experience life, and they go through a lot of really heart-wrenching experiences, and it's just incredible the way that this author was able to depict from this old man's mind and just his thoughts and feelings, and watching this old man, Mr. Murray McBride, talk and interact with the young boy and how their differences are and stuff, but how similar they also are. It's just such a beautiful trilogy, and I've been just waiting kind of like My Friends for the perfect time just to pick this up, because this is the end of the trilogy and I don't want it to be over, but I just need to know how it ends. And if you've read this series, you kind of know what this is going to surround, and it's just really sad, but also just really hopeful and heartwarming, and just incredible the way that the series touched me. It's insane, and I'm telling you, if you're somebody who likes to cry and you like books like that, you need to pick this series up. It's insane. The next book on this list is a recent buy actually for me, and that's The Alchemist. I have had this book loosely on my TBR, my mental TBR, for a while, ever since I really started getting back into reading and stuff as an adult, and I read this quote somewhere and it really made me want to bring it into my physical TBR. To realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation, And this book is supposed to be like a journey of a young shepherd boy and the people he meets along the way and his perspective on life and just like his journey through being a human and journey throughout the world, just like inner thoughts. And I love stories like that. And so The Alchemist is going to be high on my list this year. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I know that I do really want to pick it up this year. So it's also a shorter book, so these are a lot easier to commit when you have 26 books that you're putting on your TBR. The next book that I have on this list is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I read The Handmaid's Tale early in 2025. I had started the year off reading that in January, and here we are again in January, and I've been wanting to pick this up for a little while. This story hit me so hard that I really had to kind of like decompress a little bit after reading it, and it's just a really heavy story if you've read The Handmaid's Tale. I highly recommend that you do if you have not. I want to continue it, but I want to be like in the right headspace to do so, because this is also going to be like a heavy book, I think, and this is a continuation of The Handmaid's Tale, so a continuation, I believe, of that woman's story, and I don't know how much detail you're gonna get or where the story's gonna go. And I don't really want to look into it. Honestly, I just want to be fully immersed and like blindsided by everything, honestly, when I get into this one. Yeah, I love Margaret Atwood's writing. It's really beautiful, it's captivating, and I never was bored. I read The Handmaid's Tale in like 2 or 3 hours, honestly, when I was reading it. So I have no doubt that it's gonna be good. I just need to pick it up at the right time, I think. The next book on my list is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And I really haven't heard anybody in my personal life talk about this book or have read this book, but I've seen a couple reviews saying that this is just a beautiful story. Beautifully written is kind of like the thing that really stood out to me for people's reviews, that her writing style is just really beautiful and lyrical. It kind of takes you on like a journey, and I am really excited about that. This could go either way because I think this is a YA story, and YAs for me can be hit or miss. It can be really, really good or just kind of like not my thing. So I'm excited to check out her writing style and to see what it's all about, but I really don't know what this book is even about. So let's read a little bit on the back. Laszlo Strange, war orphan and junior librarian, has been obsessed with the mythic lost city of Weep for as long as he can remember, but it would take someone bolder than he to cross half the world in search of it. Then a stunning opportunity presents itself to the person of a hero called the Godslayer and a band of legendary warriors, and he has to seize his chance or lose his dream forever. What happened in Weep 200 years ago to cut it off from the rest of the world? What exactly did the Godslayer slay that went by the name of God? The answers await in Weep, but so do more mysteries, including the blue-skinned goddess who appears in Laszlo's dreams. How did he dream of her before he knew she existed? And the sweeping and breathtaking novel, The Shadow of the Past is as real as the ghosts who haunt the citadel of murdered gods. Fall into mythical world of dread and wonder, moss and nightmares, love and carnage. It just sounds like it would be beautiful and dreamlike and mythical. And yeah, no, I'm really excited about this one. I don't know when I'm gonna pick it up, but it's been kind of like, you know, higher on my TBR list in my head recently. I'm excited about it, but you never know how it's gonna go. But yes, so this is another book on my 26. I didn't realize when I'm starting this list off with all of the hard hitters and like hard literary fiction books that are gonna make me cry. And I promise we'll get more into a lot of the fantasy, romantasy, high fantasy books at the end, promise. But The Women by Kristen Hanna. I cannot wait to read this book. I have heard from so many people that it's amazing. I'm a nurse, and I know that this involves like nursing and healthcare and stuff in the war, and that's just something that I think is going to probably affect me in a pretty, in a pretty heavy way. And I'm excited for it. I'm ready to see like her perspective and everything. And Kristen Hanna is just like an incredible storyteller. I don't usually pick up historical fiction. It's not my like favorite genre, but I think that this one and Kristen Hanna's writing, I think it's just gonna be really incredible. And I have no doubt that I'm gonna love it. So I'm also waiting for the right moment to pick this one up, probably in between a couple like fantasies or something to break things up. But yeah, I am really excited. My mom borrowed it and read it before I did, and she loved it and she really wants me to read it. So I'm definitely gonna try and read it soon and hopefully really enjoy it. I also just realized that my mom has a couple little pages marked in here that she wants me to see, so that makes me even more curious about it. I think this is the last literary fiction on this list, but Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Hachi's getting on his throne over here. This book I hauled early this year, or oh wow, it's 2026. Early in 2025. I think it was actually my birthday book haul. I have wanted to read this for a while and I have not yet because I think it's also gonna be kind of a hard hitter and it is a little bit longer. I want to not rush this book. From what I do know is it's following this boy who lives in Appalachia. And if you don't know, I'm from North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains. So anything that revolves around the mountains or Appalachia is very relatable for me. Demon Copperhead is a story of a boy born to a teenage single mother in a single wide trailer with no assets beyond his father's good looks and copper-colored hair, a caustic wit, and the fierce talent for survival. In a plot that never pauses to breathe, relayed in his own unsparing voice, Demon braves the modern perils of foster care, child labor, derelict schools, athletic success, addiction, disastrous loves, and crushing losses. Through it all, he reckons with his own invisibility in a popular culture where even the superheroes have abandoned rural people. Yeah, this is gonna be really, really good. And I'm going to cry like a baby. I already know when I read this book. I'm excited. I'm also really excited to try her writing, and it won the Pulitzer Prize. So I always like to think that when they win a prize, it's gotta be good book and good writing style. You never know though, because I've read a couple that have prizes and I didn't really like them. But I think I'm gonna really love this book, and a lot of people that I'm friends with have read and love this book as well and have recommended it to me. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Very, very excited for this one. Okay, so I think, like I said, that's the last of those like sad literary fiction books. The next book on this list is really just to continue the Witcher series for me. I started that, I think, like late 2024. I can't remember when I started it, but I've been slowly working my way through it. I've loved every minute of it. That series is like a warm hug for me. It's just like one of my like go-to cozy fantasy series. It's not cozy, well, kind of. It's like kind of cozy, not all the way cozy. But it's just like one of those series that like I feel like I'm going back home when I'm reading it. And they're very easy to just binge. They're very easy to digest. Like each book is like just enough depth to where you're getting that fantasy interest and like the plot interest, but it's not too much to where it's hard and you have to like work to read it. And so I just recently bought Baptism of Fire, which is the next book that I need to read in this series. And I think there's only 3 more books after this one. So I have 4 more books left in the series, and I think that I could easily get through those by the end of the year. If I don't, no big deal, but I do want to continue this and at least get through a couple of them. And then there was, I think, a prequel that recently came out too that I do really want to get, but I want to wait for it to match these covers. So whenever the paperback comes out, I'll pick that one up. The next few books are actually books that are going to be released in 2026, and I know that I'm going to read them regardless if they're on this list or not. And the first one is Ballad of Falling Dragons. Now, this book is the second book in When the Moon Hatched series. I don't actually know what that series is called. Moonfall? Yeah, the Moonfall series. This is the first one, When the Moon Hatched, and the second one comes out hopefully this year. And I say hopefully because the release date keeps getting pushed back, but I do think it's going to come out this year. I think that's settled, and I already have it pre-ordered. We got the title and the cover reveal and everything, so I'm really, really hopeful that it comes out. I will be reading that as soon as I get my hands on that book. I'm very, very excited to continue that series. That book took me by storm. The first half of it is pretty, it takes a little bit of time to get into, but once you start revealing some of the plot points and stuff towards the end of the book, there's no way I wouldn't continue that series. It's so, so good. And then the next book that I have is The Broken Dove, which is the second book to Silver Elite by Danny Francis that came out in 2025. I know there was so much debate and conflict surrounding that book, and I really loved it. Really loved that book. Like, I devoured it, and I had a fantastic time reading it. And I mean, that's why I'm reading, is to have a good time, for entertainment, to really just like feel pulled into my books, and definitely more of like an escapism type of reader. And so yeah, there was a lot of debate and stuff surrounding that book, and I'm not really gonna go into it. I will say that that book had me hooked from the very beginning, and there's a lot of interest and a lot of cool like magic and relationships and twists and turns, and it was very fast paced, and I never felt bored. It's like maybe a 500-page book, and I finished it in 24 hours. Like, it's a very long book, and I ate it up really quickly, and I had a great time. And so I'm super excited to continue it, and I'm pretty sure that comes out in like the first few months of this year. So I will definitely be reading that as soon as it comes out. like absolutely no question. The next book on this list is Throne of Nightmares, which is the third book in the Seven Deadly Sins series by Carrie Maniscalco. I don't know if this series has an actual name or not, but this is the first book. This is Throne of the Fallen. The second book is Throne of Secrets right behind me, and I loved this book so much. I think Envy is probably my favorite, but I didn't really love the second book as much. I think I gave it like a 3-star kind of, but this one was more like 4.5, 5-star. And so I just love the covers. I think they're beautiful books. I think that is so creative with like the 7 deadly sins. I love anything that has to do with that. And so this series is following, there's 7 princes who are named and have powers after the 7 deadly sins. I'm pretty sure they're all interconnected standalones, so you don't need to read them in the order, but I think there are spoilers and stuff if you don't read them in order. So I would recommend reading them in order for sure. Yeah, so each book you're following a prince and there's a romance and there's usually some type of deadly trials that they have to go through, and it's just really fun. I just loved it so much. I know that this is like also hit or miss for some people. I'm pretty sure this third book, Throne of Nightmares, is going to be following the Prince of Sloth, but don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it's following. The next book is called A Forsaken Prophecy, and this is a continuation of A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen, and I love this book so much. This book took me by surprise. I actually wasn't planning on reading it at all, but then I had seen this book at the Book People in Austin, and it's signed by the author, and she had like this author event and everything, and so I bought it and I read it immediately, and I fell in love with this book. This is like a Peaky Blinders style of romantasy with a lot of like internal war and childhood friends to lovers and a lot of like underground wars and stuff like that, and the magic system was just like really, really interesting, and I had a great time when I read this book, and so I'm really excited to read the second one. I don't remember when it comes out, but I want to say it comes out like mid to late end of 2026. So yeah, I do have it pre-ordered already. I'm ready to go. Like, I will be reading this as soon as it comes out. The romance in this one was just done really, really well. I loved it. The next book is Knave in the Moon by Rachel Gillig, and that is a continuation of The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I had a fun and interesting time reading this book. I think I really, really enjoyed it while I was reading it, but I think afterwards I kind of like was dwelling on it a little bit more, and her writing style is very fever dream-esque. Like, I always feel like I was in a fever dream the whole time. Same thing with her duology that came before, the One Dark Window duology, and I really enjoy it while I'm reading it, but there's also some points that I remember in here being a little slow. I'm curious to see, like, I will be continuing the series no doubt, but I definitely look back on my time reading it and just remember it being just like a little bit on the slower side. But if you're okay to just sit down and take time and just like read it and not rush or anything like that and really just like soak it in, then it's definitely an experience reading her writing and reading her books. And I will probably read anything that she writes. I did really enjoy this, and so the second book, Knave in the Moon, will be continuation of this series that comes out, I'm pretty sure, like late this year. The next book is, this is what? Number 14 is Dawn of the North by Demi Winters. This is the third book in the Road of Bones series. Absolutely fell in love, like head over heels in love with the series and these characters, and I think it was mainly like the romance that stemmed for me, the deceit, and I'm not really somebody who reads a book and is trying to figure it out the whole time. I could just go with it, and if it just lets me be more surprised when I get to like a plot twist or something. And I'm telling you, Road of Bones has the biggest plot twist at the end, and it just gets better and better the more you go into the series. Like Kingdom of Claw, the second book, was chef's kiss, like 5-6-star read for me, just because of the depth that you get and the more storyline. You get a second POV that's like really, really interesting and gives you just so much more to the world and the story, and I'm just so excited to read the third book. I'm so excited that like I'm scared to read it because I don't want to be disappointed. I don't think I'm going to be. I do have the ARC, and I've been sitting on the ARC for like 3 months and I still haven't read it yet. I don't want to not have something else to read by her whenever I finish it, so I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do need to, and I will before it comes out in like the physical book, which I think is in February. So I will be reading that as soon as I can, probably at the end of January if I had to guess. Yeah, that Dawn of North, that's been on my list for a long time to read. I'm just really excited to get into it, but I'm also just sad because I don't want it to be done for right now. There's nothing else that I can read after that. The next book, or I should say books for this one, is Riftbound. Did I say Riftbound? Riftborn, and then Duskbound, and The Ascended. So I have Riftborn. This is the only one that's on my list because if I'm starting a new series, I'm willing to put the first one on there, because what if I read it and I hate it? Which I don't think is gonna happen, but you know. So Riftborn by Greenwich and Lennox is, let me read the blurb because I couldn't really tell you an exact description of this. 20 years after rebellion branded her as an outcast, Fia Riftborn navigates a city rife with prejudice so deep it's often deadly. But she harbors a secret, one that would paint an even larger target on her back. A hidden power within her is growing, threatening to destroy everything she built for herself. Enter the elusive side General Lyric Ashford, who's building a unit powerful wielders within the guard to face a growing threat. Wraiths of darkness devour the western border, leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. When Fia's power erupts and 2 daughters of nobility are seemingly dead, General Ashford offers her a chilling choice: join the Seed Guard or face execution, because Fia might be the only hope for the Isle's survival. Torn between surrendering to the chaos or becoming a weapon for those who took everything from her, Fia must confront her growing feelings for the General and face a dark truth that could shatter everything she's known. This book has taken Bookstagram and the whole Book It Talk community by storm this year, and I have had it on my TBR for a hot minute, and I finally bought the editions because they were hardback, and I get FOMO when I know that an indie edition is going to go out of print. So I got the hardback of this and Duskbound, and then I have the Ascended already on my shelf. So I really hope that I enjoy this book. But yeah, these are going to be on my TBR for this year, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to these pretty soon, just knowing like where it's sitting in my head and everything. So hopefully I'll be able to get to these soon and we can talk about them, because I'm really excited and I've seen so much hype around these. The next book that I have on my 2026 TBR is Innamorata. Is that how you say it? Innamorata? Italian for The Woman in Love. Innamorata by Ava Reed. And I did get the arc of this book. I was not expecting to actually get that. So yeah, I hope to read it soon. Seems like a book that would be good to read in February. Couldn't really tell you honestly anything about it. So let me look it up and we'll read a little bit of a description, because I'm super curious about this. I also have not read anything by her yet, and I'm curious about her writing style. I've heard that her writing style is very lyrical. Actually, I lied. I did read a book by her. I read Juniper and Thorn late this year, and I did really love that book. It was really cute. It was beautiful. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. I can't find it on Goodreads or Amazon. Guys, I can't find a description of this book anywhere. I don't even know what this book is about, but just based off of the title, Innamorata meeting the woman in love, I feel like it's just gonna be like a really beautiful romance. And I have the arc on my phone. Like I said, I can't find it on Amazon or Goodreads or anything to find any type of blurb or description, but I have this quote at the very beginning of the book, and it seems like it could lay the foundation of what this book is going to be like. He had emptied the bright goblet of romance. At a single gulp, he had emptied it. The glass of it lay scattered on the floor. Maybe they took it down because they needed to like redo some things. I don't know, but I will, if I like the book, I'll be buying the physical copy because it's really beautiful and I love having beautiful books on my shelf. And then the next book, or I should say books for this one as well, is basically continuing and finishing the Gods and Monsters series. This is first book that I have, and that's the Book of Azrael. And if you've watched some of my recent videos, I talked about this series. I read the Book of Azrael and the second book in the series like a long time ago. Whenever they first came out, I read them and I really love them, but I did not continue the series. And so I decided that this year I will continue the series because now it's complete, and I ordered all the indie editions. So I want to read and hopefully finish this series this year and kind of put this to rest a little bit. And I'm really excited because so many people have loved it. And basically, this book at least was following a girl and her sister, and this girl makes a really huge sacrifice for her sister, and she's kind of like living with that. You're getting flashbacks and stuff from the past and the present, and she meets this like god, and so you have gods, and the main character is dealing with a lot of monsters, like actual monsters with like claws and fangs and stuff, and it is set in more of like an urban style setting, but you also get little bits and pieces of like old style fantasy and stuff. So it's just a really interesting, super fun, super fast paced, kind of gruesome, gnarly fantasy book. And so if you're into that dark fantasy, then I think that you would really love this series. So I'm really excited to continue it. I just need to find the right time to pick up the third book. The next book that I have on this list is The Child Thief by Brahm, and I know a lot of you guys were really excited when I picked this up recently because Bram is just so amazing. And we did find out that this is a Peter Pan retelling, but Bram is a horror author. So this is a horror Peter Pan retelling, and I am incredibly excited to jump into this. And I was thinking when I was making this list, I was remembering that Slewfoot was on my 25 to read in 25, which was the first book that I ever read by him, and ended up falling in love with Slewfoot. Such a good book. And the thing about Bram that just like really gets me is he always has this like gorgeous artwork in his books. I'm pretty sure somebody told me too that he's the author of this art. I enjoyed his writing style. It was very storyteller-esque, immediately like drew me into the story and the atmosphere, and like I was able to just like dive into the book while I was reading it, and it was just so good. It was so nice, such a great experience. Even though it's a horror book, it's not like scary, and that was the one thing that was like what I would be most nervous about reading a horror book, but it's not like jump out at you scary. And so it was just more like making you think type of like psychological, I guess, but it's not a thriller. I am really excited to read this book this year. I'm not sure when I'm gonna read it, but I would love to read it soon, but I have so many books that I need to read. But yeah, I will get to this as soon as I can, and I'm just really excited to experience more of his stuff. And if I like this one, then I'll keep going through his backlist. And honestly, I foresee myself really loving him and reading his stuff for years and years to come. High on my list this year for sure. The next book that I have on this list is The Magnificence of Death by Ray Rainwater. I don't know if I've talked about this book a whole lot on my channel. This is a book that I bought based off of a review that I saw on Instagram a little while ago. Just like the way that she was describing this book just made me feel like I would really, really enjoy it and really love it. I was also really intrigued by this cover. This cover for some reason is just like drawing me in, but I couldn't really tell you a whole lot about what it's about, so I'll read the blurb for this one as well. To live is a choice, to die is a promise. Death doesn't take kindly to thieves, especially immortal ones. Cursed with immortality and the power to bring back the dead, Astoria Tempest has spent a century outrunning grief, guilt, and the consequences of second chances she was never meant to give. When she trades her husband's soul for her daughter's life, the balance shifts and death comes to collect. That sounds good. But instead of claiming her, he offers her a deal: break the curse and reclaim her mortality, or keep running until the world forgets her entirely. Wow. I don't know why, but I just thought of The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. Caught between a power she never asked for and reckoning long overdue, Astoria must decide what she's willing to lose and whether death might be something more than the end. That sounds really, really good. I'm really excited for this. I think it's gonna be beautifully written, and it looks like there's like little notes and letters in here. And I love it when there's like mixed media and stuff in books. But yeah, this is an indie published book. I've never read anything by her, and I just read that one review and she spoke so highly of it and made me want to buy it. So yeah, The Magnificence of Death is super high on my TBR this year. The next book that I have on my 26 to read in 26 is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This book is a chunky one. I am really, really excited for this one though, because ever since I first posted about this, people have spoken so highly of it and are really excited for me to get into it. So what I do know about this is I believe it's a like dark academia type of book and gives you very like gothic-y vibes. This is I want to say fantasy with a subplot of romance, but I'm not positive. After 24 years on the throne, it's time for Burson the Brusque, Emperor of Oran, to bring his reign to an end. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 contenders will compete to replace him. Oh, so this is like a trial. That's kind of cool. Trained at rival monasteries, each contender is inspired by a sacred animal: fox, raven, tiger, ox, bear, monkey, and hound. An 8th, the dragon proxy, will be revealed once the trials have begun. 8 exceptional warriors, thinkers, strategists, the best of the best. Then one of them is murdered. It falls to the brilliant but idiosyncratic Nima Kra to investigate, but as she hunts for a killer, dark forces are gathering. This is not at all what I thought at all, but I'm so intrigued. If Nima succeeds, she could win the throne, whether she wants it or not, but if she fails, she'll sentence herself to death and set in motion a sequence of events that could doom the empire. Wow. So this is definitely more of like a high epic fantasy, and I am here for that. This sounds like it's gonna be really good and probably be full of a lot of secrets and depth to the plot, and oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Very, very excited. The next one that I have on this list is The Lost Queen by Senya Pike. I bought this sometime last year, and I actually discovered this after seeing the second book in this series on the shelf, and it was just a really beautiful book, and so I saw that this was the first one. And this is giving me Outlander vibes. And I love the Outlander show. I've never read the books. I do hope to do that someday. But this is giving me like Scottish romantasy Outlander vibes. And it says it's actually inspired by the legend of Merlin, which is like really cool. I've always really loved like the Merlin story. I'll read a little bit of the blurb. It says, in a land of mountains and mist, tradition and superstition, Langareth and her twin brother Lachlan are raised in the old way of their ancestors. But the rise of a new religion heralds an era of disruption. When conflict brings the hero of Imrus Padragon to her family's door, Langareth finds love with one of his warriors. Her deep connection to the male Gwyn is forged by enchantment, but she is promised in marriage to the son of a Christian king. Together with her brother and warrior and druid known to history as Mirrodin, Langareth must fight for the preservation of Old Way and the survival of her kingdom, or risk the loss of both forever. Yeah, this sounds really, really good. This sounds like a series that's probably gonna live in my heart for a long time once I get into it. So yeah, I really want to read this year. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while and it's been a TBR in my head for a long time, even before I bought it. So I'm very, very intrigued and excited. And I know a lot of you guys have read this and told me that it's really good. So thank you for that and making me even more thrilled to start this. The next book, or should I say series, on my 26 to read in 2026. This is feeling like a very heavy 26 with like really epic series. I do hopefully want to start the Poppy War this year. I have a lot of like high fantasy series that I haven't started that are on my physical TBR right now, but for whatever reason, this one's just standing out a lot. And I think it's just because this is such a beloved series with a lot of readers who have the same taste as me. And I am just like really intrigued by it. So this edition's beautiful. I love this edition so much. And I have read a couple of R.F. Kuang's books and I know that she's a really beautiful writer. She has a lot of like strong writing and it's usually very technical. And I do enjoy that in the right moments and in the right setting. And I know that this is a series that once you get into, it's going to be something that's like really heart-wrenching and very deep. And that's what I've heard from a lot of the people who have read the series and really love it. So I'm excited. I don't know what it's really about, so let me read a little bit of it. When Ren aced the Keiju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academies, it was a shock to everyone. To test officials who couldn't believe her war orphan from Rooster Province could pass without cheating. To Ren's guardians who believed they finally able to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and to Ren herself who realized she was finally free of the servitude and despair that had made up her daily existence. That she got into Isengard, the most elite military school in Nikon, was even more surprising. Any type of like rise from the ashes type of story is some of my favorites. So the Poppy War, if you've read this, let me know how you feel about it. I don't like starting a whole lot of series all at once. I like to have a max of like 4 or 5 series that I'm in the middle of. And I think I'm ready to pick a new one up. So I think this is going to be it this year. So to continue talking about series that I'm in the middle of, The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. I read The Songbird and Heart of Stone, I think is what it's called. Yeah, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone right here. I read this when it came out last year and I really loved it. Like I really enjoyed this book and I'm not really sure why I haven't picked this up yet, to be honest. I really just don't know why. And I honestly think it's because of the length, if I'm being honest. Like I think it's just a little bit longer and I am not always in the vampire mood. Like I'm not a vampire girly, I'm just not. And so I do really love Carissa Broadbent's writing style and her, like the way that she tells her stories and stuff. And I've loved like most, if not all of her series that I've read so far. So I'm not really sure why I haven't picked it up, but I think it's just not high on my priority list because I think I remember everything that happened in here. So I don't feel like I need to like rush into it just so I don't forget or anything like that. Like I feel like I'm just happy waiting and I don't have any reason why I haven't read it. I just haven't. Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk is the second book in this interconnected duology, you could kind of say. The first 2 books was The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then I don't remember the name of the second book in that duology, but I didn't love those 2 books, like the first 2. I didn't love them as much as I love these. This is following kind of like the friend of the female main character in The Serpent and the Wings of Night and her journey as she's actually having to travel down to hell. And she's being guided by this vampire male, like helping her navigate through that. And I don't remember why she's going down there. I think she's trying to like save somebody that she loves. And yeah, it's just like a really interesting, unique story in my opinion. And so I did really love the first one. I just need to jump into the second one and complete that duology. So I do hope to do that sometime soon. There's no like right time to read this. I think it's just whenever I feel like picking it up. So yeah, The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk is definitely on my list this year. 3 more books. So this is number 23, and that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Someone tell me why I haven't read this book yet. I really don't know. I really don't know why I haven't read this book yet. I think it's the length of it. And I did read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and really, really loved that book. That became one of my favorite books that year. And I just fell in love with that book, but I did find it a little slow. And so I think that's what's holding me back from this one, is because I'm afraid that it's gonna be on the slower side, and it's long. And that scares me a little bit, but I do intend on reading it. So I put it on this list to kind of give me that little push just to pick it up, not be afraid. It's just a book. I can always DNF it if I want to. I hate that preconceived feeling towards books because it really ruins the moment. But this book is not dual timeline, but like a triple timeline in 1532, 1827, and 2019, which I think is so cool and insane to have to write that. You're following these 3 different people, and I have to assume that their stories and stuff merge, and that's what I loved so much about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, is how she followed her throughout all these centuries, like watching them change and watching their story and really understanding why she became the way she is. And also in Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, there's like a really beautiful romantic backstory or subplot, and I think that this is gonna have that in there. I just need to stop being scared and just pick it up. I am going to just put that aside and read it regardless, and I am excited to at least try it. The next book on this list is Red City, which is a recent buy for me as well this past month by Marie Lu. And this one just sounds so interesting. This is like almost like, I guess you could say, dystopian fantasy romance that's following alchemists that live in this city, but it's like an angel city. There's like a war, and these 2 people are in the middle of the war, and I can only imagine that it's gonna be super epic, and I hope it's good. And the reviews that I saw say that it's really, really good and they really loved it. So I hope that holds up, because I think like this book has a high potential of being a really good read. Anything to do with like alchemy right now is just like really intriguing to me. So Red City by Marie Lu, this is a recent release, recent buy, and I'm definitely hoping I'm being able to pick this up sometime this year and seeing what it's all about. The 26th book on my list this year is The Everlasting by Alexi Hero. I have not read anything by her yet, and I'm surprised, honestly, that I haven't read any of her stuff yet. But I did get this book from a free little library recently, and I'm really excited to try it out. I talked to a friend of mine who recently read this, and she said that it's kind of like a medieval knight romantasy love story, and I'm so here for that right now. I've said it a million times already on my channel, but I read The Second Death of Locke recently, and that book like stole my heart. It was such a good book, and so I've been looking for any type of knight romance or medieval romance since then, and I think that this is going to be a good little like filler for that. Also, The Paladin's Grace, just by T. Kingfisher. That's another one that's on my TBR that I really want to get to. That's going to give me these vibes, hopefully. The Everlasting by Alexi Hero. Let's actually read the dust jacket and get a little understanding of what it's about, because I have never read the description of this book. Sir Una, everlasting with history's greatest hero, a lost girl who would draw a sword from the heartwood and become a legend. The knight's epic feats were rivaled only by her tragic fate, a sacrifice that saved a queen and built an empire. Centuries later, Owen Mallory has dedicated his life to Una Everlasting. Abandoning a promising scholarly career to defend his country, he comes home from the war broken and weary until he finds a reason to live in the pages of a mysterious book. Sent back through time, the historian's task is to ensure that Sir Una meets her tragic fate, but instead, Owen falls in love with the complex woman behind the legend. He doesn't know how to watch her die or how many times he's done it before. This book sounds like it's gonna be so good. I'm excited for this. This has the potential, I think, of being really, really good. Also, I think it's kind of cute because my girl, Jenny, if you're watching this, I got this from her free little library, and she has a few little tabs in here. I'm not sure if this was from her or somebody else, but whoever left this in there has some tabs in their book, so I'm curious to see what they tabbed, what they thought about the book. This is the last book on our list of 26 to read in 2026, which I cannot believe we're even saying that or talking about it, because it's actually already almost over with the first week in January, which is crazy. Starting a new year, I'm super excited, and I have so many plans for this year as far as like channel goes and booktube and all of that, and I just want to like keep blabbing about books with you guys. It's just been so much fun, and talking to you guys in the comments and everything. So thank you guys so much again for being here. I appreciate every single one of you for being here and just like talking to me and building a relationship and friendships with me. It's just been so much fun, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy with being able to like talk on here and share all my thoughts and stuff with you guys. So Like I said, thank you for being here, and I hope that you guys have had a wonderful start to the year so far, a wonderful week and weekend, and I will talk to you guys in the next video next Saturday. Bye guys.